to be able to say what we have to say badly, or we won't be able to think at all.
Defend it?
Well, okay,
No, not well,
Yes.
okay. But I haven't
Class.
justified them on the basis of gender and class.
As you might imagine, you've been a topic of conversation on this campus a lot in the past week or so. One of the things that sort of united people who like and dislike a lot of your ideas is that we appreciate your defense of free speech, and we appreciate you coming here to talk about it with us. But one of the things I thought was really interesting is Professor Van Dyke addressed the distinction between you and Jonathan Haidt. And I think, I'm sure that's true to some extent, but I noticed you've made a lot of more sort of substantively inflammatory claims. Like, in the course of this lecture, you called the authors of Facebook posts demons and totalitarians. In past events, you've called them things like neo-Marxists, cultural Marxists. You've called them, I believe, a fifth column that is committing treason against the West. And it seems to me this is more than temperamental. This is a substantive difference. And
It's a substantive difference, yes.
And another thing you've done is that, unlike Haidt, you have a more sort of comprehensive political program. You've talked a lot in defense of traditional hierarchies, both of gender, of class. And so it seems that...
I haven't talked about defense of traditional hierarchies in terms of gender and class. That's not true.
Well, you've talked about hierarchies in society. You've talked
Yeah,
about...
that's
yes.
true. I have done
would you
that.
not define
But I
it as
haven't
class?
justified them on the basis of gender and class.
Well,
The two
okay, but you
categories.
talk
Not
about...
okay. That's an important distinction.
Okay, but you defend hierarchies in society in a way that... You talk a lot about the Pareto distribution, yes?
That doesn't mean I
Yeah.
defend it.
Well, okay, you...
No, not well,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Talk a lot-
Observing that something exists is
Yes.
not the same as defending it. How in the world...
Well, people attack it, right?
What's that?
And you don't. People attack it.
Attack
as
what?
inherently attack the hierarchies of society as inherently unjust, right?
Well, they're unjust, but
Yes.
they're also useful.
Okay, so you say they're useful. Some
Look,
people would
look
disagree
at
with
it
that
this way.
proposition.
Okay, look at it this way. You obviously think that it's worthwhile to stand up and ask a question.
Yes.
So you think that standing up and asking a question is better than
Yes.
not standing up and asking a question.
Yes.
Okay, that's a hierarchy
Yes.
of values.
Yes.
Okay, without the hierarchy of values, you couldn't act.
Of course.
No, not of course.
Well, wait.
It's
do you-
partly why I'm
I think
defending
there's
the
a distinction here.
hierarchy. Without
No
a
one
hierarchy,
disagrees
there's
about
no
the
impetus
facts
to
of the
act.
hierarchy, right?
What's that?
There is a hierarchy in society, right?
No, there's multiple
Okay,
hierarchies
there are
in
multiple
society.
hierarchies in society, right?
Yes.
And you say that they are based in, you invoke the lobster, right? That they are based in nature.
I said that they were inevitable.
Yes, that they were inevitable. Some
Right,
people
that
disagree
doesn't
with
mean
that.
that they're
but,
good.
But my point is that you have a broader point than free speech. This is one of the things you talk about, yes? Whereas I think there are some other activists who focus on more exclusively
I'm not
on
an
free speech.
activist.
There's some other individuals who engage in public political speech. Okay.
Yeah?
Who focus more exclusively on free speech, whereas you have other goals in mind. But one of the things that your more inflammatory language has done, I think, is it's politicized this free speech to an extent that someone like Haidt hasn't. I've noticed that when someone hears the term free speech now, they associate it with a specific set of thinkers, often as viewed as on the extreme right. And I think arguably that's the problem of all factions in society, because free speech should be a universal value. Polls certainly suggest that it's coming under increasing threat from both sides. But do you believe free speech is your primary end, or do you believe these other points you're making are important? Because I've heard you a bunch of times defend free speech sort of contextually, like you've complained about some of the laws in Canada that you dislike, that they institutionalize false facts into the law. But it seems to me that an absolutist defense of free speech makes no preference as to true or false. The point is that's something you are being forced to say something. It would be as bad as if you were forced to say something that is true, because the point of free speech is that you can say whatever you want, right?
No,
And-
the point of free speech is so that you can think your way through
Yes.
life without running like
But
headlong
being
into a
told
brick
to
wall.
think position A versus position B is just as bad, right? Even if one is true and the other is not.
Good job, by the way.
Well, actually, wait, can I just ask one additional addendum? I think the politicization of free speech is by far the biggest threat to free speech, because this is always
No,
been
the radical leftists are the biggest threat
well,
to free
okay, so
speech.
this is...
But I get your
as
point.
The professor alluded to in previous questions, the substantive threats to free speech in much of the world, in Europe certainly, I think in the United States as well, from the government, have come from the radical right. And I think it's fair to say that on the specific narrow subset of certain departments on liberal arts colleges, it's fair to say a threat comes from the left, though its scope is in dispute. But My question is, do you think that the way you talk about free speech, the way you link it to specific issues, the way you use inflammatory language, and the way you seem to defend a specific set of free speech, there are certainly plenty of instances of free speech attacked on the other side that you don't mention as much. Do you think you risk politicizing this? Because it seems to me
yes.
that... Okay, and do you not think that's a far greater threat? Because, for example, the NRA... Well, sorry, the NRA is a group in the United States that defends guns rights, right?
Okay, hold it.
Yes.
We need a question.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, like I said, you're doing fine, but
think,
it's just too much. Like, I can't keep it straight.
Do you think that your behavior risks politicizing it, and do you think that politicization is justified?
I think my behavior risks politicizing it, yes. I would rather it not be politicized, and I'm doing what I can to manage that risk. However, it's become political in my country because the government implemented compelled speech legislation. So I wasn't complaining about that before it became political. Now, and there is a time, even when you're detached in some sense from the political realm, that you can't be detached anymore. Well, I'm not happy with the fact that this has become politicized. You could say that I haven't done a stellar job in ensuring in every possible manner that this has remained neutrally apolitical. Probably true. But I'm not particularly unhappy with the way things have gone so far. And I'm not happy with the radical left. And so, if they're irritated at me, so much the better, as far as I'm concerned. So, have I conducted myself perfectly? It's like, undoubtedly no. So, I've got more than my fair share of faults, and a temper is one of them. But I'm muddling through.